Yes. All right, Michael, my friend, how's it going? Welcome back, or welcome to your first time on the podcast. Pleasure to have you. Maybe a
Pleasure
little
to be
background about yourself. I know we just briefly met and have been
here.
talking on social media, but just to
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay. So I'm Michael Foley, from Ghana, Accra to be precise. I currently run a tutoring company, and I'm also a teacher. And what we do is that we are in our company we are providing tutoring services for support to serve as support for the education system, because where we find ourselves, there are a lot of people who are in schools, private schools, government schools, paying a lot of money, but they are not really getting what they need. They are not really, the kids are not really developing. They are not thinking critically. They are not able to solve daily problems. And most people are looking for help. They are really looking for help. And our company provides such help to people where we are providing services for all sorts of people that need support, all sorts of kids that need support, especially in the early years and in the primary years. We have kids who have real challenges, but the system doesn't allow those challenges to be appreciated and solutions to be brought. So most parents turn to people like us in the system that are providing support services for kids who have challenges, real learning challenges. There are certain challenges like dyslexia, ADHD, and some of these challenges are not, there's no time for the tutor in the normal class setting to really address some of these challenges. So people like us who are aware of some of these challenges, there's an issue about awareness too, where the challenge is obvious, but the understanding of the teacher that this is what this child is actually going through, and I can use this approach. If it doesn't work, let me try this approach, or let me refer this child to this other tutor, or let me get this child to be checked. All this information, some teachers don't have it, or the system doesn't allow them to pay so much attention to such kids. So apart from such kids, we also provide support for any kid that wants to develop, that wants to grow. So for us, basically, this is what we are doing. I work with a team of tutors who are ready and available to um, provide our services across the city. So that's what we do at the moment.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, and thank you for finding those gaps and those holes and filling it. Because I think globally, as I'm talking to people from Spain, Russia, Ukraine, uh, US, South America, Africa, I think there is a lot of the same issues, and people are trying to communicate and think how they can solve that. Um, you mentioned the teachers in the system classroom don't have enough time with the kids. What are they teaching them, or is there what's the advantage of that school system where opposed to something else? Like, is it beneficial? Is it helping the students? Obviously, your tutoring and services are adding more value, but what is the classroom becoming? Is it good, bad, better, worse?
All right. So I would like to share a little background. My inspiration for one of my biggest inspirations for what I do is one man called John Holt. All right, and Holt really his writings really inspired me. Um, his first book I read was How Children Fail, and in that book he spoke a lot about the current classroom as at that time. I think it was in the 70s that you would have that was the era how children feel, the 70s. And it was talking about from the United States and it was talking about the classroom. And trust me, his description of the classroom from the 70s, and we are in 2023. His description of it has not changed. A lot has evolved, around us right now. Technology has advanced so much. There's artificial intelligence and all that. But Paul's description of the classroom in the 70s and the 60s is pretty much what we have right now. And I would say that the classroom environment has not improved, and the rate at which we are developing as a people, and the understanding that we have currently as human beings, the classroom has not caught up to that. So there's a lot more that an individual possesses that is limited because of the classroom space. And the classroom is such that, apart from the classroom, the whole school institution is like children are perceived to be lesser human beings with lesser abilities that have to be kept in this system till they are 18, 19, 20, before their abilities can be harnessed, before they can contribute to the world, before they can contribute to society. So that's the biggest flaw of the concept, because a child, once he comes to this world with brains, can understand, can speak, can communicate, and we expect them to be responsible for some of their actions. But we don't believe that we can expose them to the world for them to learn better. But we have to keep them in a space, in an institution for a certain number of years. And we say, here you go, you have graduated, go to the job market now, face the world. It doesn't really make sense at all. So the current classroom space is really, I believe, it limits the potential of an individual, a human being. Okay, though a child is a human being and has the capacity to achieve a lot, but the current classroom space limits that ability.
Yeah, that might be uh, controversial to say these days because
Mm-hmm.
it's that's what we've done in the past
Yeah,
hundreds of years, thousands of
yeah,
years maybe, and
yeah.
but I do agree that things change and sometimes they change rapidly. Even this conversation that we're having,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
US, Africa, would not
Mm-hmm.
happen 10 years ago. The
Mm-hmm.
capabilities were there, but it wasn't open.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't know what you guys are learning and
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa. So and I don't come from an education background, but just being
Okay.
exposed to this, I'm learning every day and being
Mm-hmm.
able to be connected globally and in
Mm-hmm.
a matter of seconds, being able to know something,
Yeah.
real education, you're able to know and then apply it. That gives such a huge advantage. Not having any credential background, I can still learn. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm 100% sure with children, they're even more so in tune with the technology and able to understand
Exactly.
quickly
Exactly.
and know. I want to keep the focus on your guys' tutoring and the work that you guys are doing.
Okay.
What are some things that have helped students? What are some things you guys are testing that are measurable in seeing, okay, the student didn't understand English on day one, for example, but on day 30, they are able to say some words, understand sentences. Maybe some examples of what you guys are doing.
Okay. So I'll use reading. I'll start with reading. So there are a number of children that we've come across that really had real challenges with reading. They had been instructed how to read, they've been taught how to read. Most of the children in their age group and in their class are reading, but they are not reading. And it's a big challenge. It's huge because then the confidence of that particular child is down because they can't read three-letter words, they struggle with four-letter words. And because their confidence is down, they think they are not good students. They think they are poor and their friends are better than them. And it makes them not enjoy learning, it makes them not enjoy school. So a few of these cases, I'll share some of the success stories with you. When we come in and we realize that, okay, we don't, there could be a challenge. There's obviously a learning challenge, but we don't really want to put a label on there. So we use different approaches, different strategies to make sure that we are achieving what we want to achieve. So we use multiple approaches. So such a child wants to know where their strengths are. Then we look at the strengths, from the strengths, then through the strengths, we're able to tutor them. So for some of them now have challenges with reading, we see some of them are very good at narration. They have strong narrative skills, all right? But they can't read. So most of the time you have to bring such people are very imaginary. They want things to come to life. So when you're teaching them, we teach them the letter sounds. We use the phonics-based approach. We teach them letter sounds, but we bring every letter to life. So you have to tell a story about the A sound. You have to tell a story about the B sound. You have to tell a story about the sound. And once you are saying these stories, they tend to remember the sound. Okay. Sometimes we approach it this way. We use the Orton Gillingham approach, where we use a sound. The sound has an action, okay? Following the action, then there's a story, there's a song. So, and there are pictures, there are images. So the normal instruction will normally not go this way. The normal instruction will have you there, you either read through phonics or they train you through sight words. But some of these children don't fit the two. So you have to use different approaches. So children were very strong. There was this particular girl, she had very strong narrative reasoning. So we had to use a lot of stories. So you tell stories that will make her think, that will make her come alive, that will make her involved in what you're doing. And from someone who couldn't read three-letter words, she was now reading three-letter words, four-letter words. So we just brought these resources, we just made these resources available. And tech was really helpful. Tech was really helpful, where we were using applications to make them practice more and more and more. And they were getting better. So we were moving from someone who could barely read to someone who was reading now, and their confidence was growing. They were becoming better as the day went by. So that's just one of the
Yeah,
stories that.
that's amazing. That's amazing, and it's so clear where they weren't enjoying it because it wasn't applying, it wasn't registering. But there might be
Mm-hmm.
different ways, like you mentioned, story, singing, maybe
Mm-hmm.
some sight words. So everyone
Mm-hmm.
learns a little bit differently, but
Mm-hmm.
finding those
Yeah,
personalized
and
approaches.
and let I wanted to add this, that the the teacher in the classroom with 15, 20, 30 students will take her time to plan a lesson, go through certain processes. But because this child actually needs individual attention, that child will be drowned in all that she's doing. It's not like the teacher is not giving the best. The teacher is actually giving the best, but there's no time for that particular individual, the patience, to see that person develop. Because though I've shared the story, there are lots of frustrating times in there. And there needs to be patience. The teacher doesn't have to get frustrated because it's already frustrating for the child. A lot of encouragement needs to come in and all that. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's another good point. I think uh, both educators, parents, and the students have to learn together. Like
Yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
there are challenges with, like you mentioned, artificial intelligence, new technology. It's not like we just teach that to children without understanding it. It's like we have to learn how they're learning
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
honestly learn together. So
mm-hmm.
I'm a big proponent of that. Kind of going to your guys' bigger purpose, your guys' bigger goal and mission.
Okay.
What would you say is your big mission where if this is accomplished, you guys are happy and satisfied? What's that mission?
All right. So this is our mission. Our mission is we have this dream of building schools all right, spaces all across our country and our continent. First of all, we want to make sure that these schools are green, these schools are environmentally friendly. We want to use indigenous material that we have here in Africa to make the cost of building our schools um, reasonable. And we want to build these schools. I'm using school because it's the word that is common, but we actually want to build spaces, okay, where children can come in and they are going to have the right environment. Because I believe that one thing a child needs to succeed is the environment. So we are going to have the right environment to help them grow and develop. It's not going to be a place where children are going to be kept so that their parents can go to work and come back for them. All right. So we want to build a space where if we have to get into a bus, take a trip to northern Ghana to go and learn something about elephants, we can do that. We want to have a space where if a group of us want to go to a factory, an assembling plant, we can go to an assembling plant and see how cars are being put together.
mm,
We want to have a space where we can come together and make something with our hands. We can also have a space where a child's independence or freedom is tied to responsibility. Well, they are being given tasks to perform and they are being given the free will to perform those tasks, to work on projects, to have meaning in their learning. All right.
mm,
So we want to build a lot of these spaces. And it would be a great joy if we should see ourselves building some of these schools in places where underprivileged, where the kids are really underprivileged, where they're really deprived, where the the conditions are really tough, where certain teachers will not even like to go because it's going to be really hard for you. We want to provide these facilities there and make sure that children in those places are also getting quality education. Children in those places are given the platform to also be global citizens where they can they can be compared to any kid at any part of the world. And their abilities, their talents are being brought to bear and they're achieving a lot even as children. That's what we want to do.
mm.
So basically, to put in a few words, we want to bridge the gap between the traditional institution and the homeschool setting, right? We want to bridge the gap because we believe that there's a lot in the traditional institution that is beneficial. And we believe that there's a lot in the homeschool setting that is beneficial. I want to bring it all together. The freedom and independence in the homeschool setting, the a little bit of the structure, curriculum, and social interaction and all that in the traditional school system. We want to also bring on board. We want to see how we can merge these two.
Got it. Yeah, that's a lofty and high and good mission. I really like that. Do you think that can be done technologically, digitally, or does the school setting, education setting have to be physical space, or can it be a hybrid of digital, maybe something like this? I know this doesn't feel as intimate and we're just seeing flat. But do you think there can be a hybrid of digital and in person, or it has to be in person?
I think a hybrid really works well. A hybrid is the way to go, I believe. But there's a challenge in the digital penetration for us. Okay. So in our parts, we have certain places where access to the internet, access to
Mm,
technological devices, we are not there yet. That's the truth. We are not there yet. So making everything online would further deprive these people because even with spaces they're already deprived, then technology will be further deprived. I believe in the future, I always believe in the future. I always believe that the future can be better. I always believe that the future has hope. I believe that in the future, where digital penetration has really, because where we were about 10 years ago with digital penetration, we have advanced. So I believe in the next 10 years, digital penetration is also going to increase. And
Mm.
I'm sure by then we can really have the conversation about online or fully digital. But now a hybrid will be the way to go.
Got it. Awesome. Well, this has been really helpful, and I do think in the next 10 plus years there is going to be more uh, penetration in digital space, the internet advancing. Um, I wish all the continents and all the countries can share. For example, we don't have um, the wildlife, the,
Yeah,
the safaris that you guys have. Maybe there can be um, chances for kids in America to virtually be in Africa and
exactly,
learn
exactly,
with you,
exactly.
and vice versa. Maybe
Yeah,
kids in Ghana can connect with the best classrooms here and instantly learn and then apply it to Africa. I think
yeah,
you're you're right in saying some areas don't have internet, computer, at, like physical device access, which is I hope that changes if there's things we can do to grant that. I would love to talk about that in the future, but I do think
yeah.
it's going to happen within the next decade. So that optimism for hope
Mhm. Yeah,
has to
that
survive.
yeah, that's really important, and that's been one of the things I've really been hoping for. Where the West or in America or in Europe, you can learn about Africa from Africans, so
Hmm.
that you so that you can really know what Africa is about,
Yes.
and and then we in Africa can learn about the US, Europe
Yep.
from you guys, because there
Mm.
are times where we talk about, let's say we talk about seasons, all right, and then we have two seasons, the dry season and the wet season. All right. But we want our kids to know that it's because we're in a tropical zone. That's why we have the dry season and the wet season. But in temperate areas, they have four seasons. Saying that is cool, getting them a picture is fine. But if we could have real interaction where they can see kids in the winter, all right, how this is actually winter, this is what goes on, this is
Mm.
how they are dressed, and it's because it's winter.
Mm.
It would be a game changer. That's just one
Yeah.
example
Yeah. Yeah.
where
Yeah.
we can actually bridge the gap. All right. So
Yeah.
there's a lot we have on our continent that we can share with you, like from here. And there's a lot you have that I can also. And then we get to understand each other. We see ourselves as one people. But if there is someone is teaching about Africa based on a perception,
Hmm.
then and someone is teaching about you based on a perception, then it really is not real education.
Yeah. That's a really good point that you're making. But look, Michael, this has been fascinating. I want to keep this going because I think you're pulling on some strings that are really insightful because sometimes we get our news from our perception of what's going on there instead of the real on the ground thing. And again, something like this, just you're in Ghana, we're in Los Angeles, we can have transparent, open,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully valuable, insightful communication back and forth and learn. I want to learn what you guys are going through and how to help and hopefully share what we're going through. And maybe there's something you guys can help there with, or maybe the students can help with. So um, I want to keep this relationship going. It's a pleasure chatting with you. Maybe tell us for our listeners, how can people connect with you if they have questions, if they want to learn, if they want to network and say, hey, we have something together that we want to work with. But how can they get in touch with you? How can they connect with you?
Oh, okay, yeah. So my personal account, Instagram account, teach with Mike, teach with Mike, teach with Mike, and then my company is Edu Garden Tutoring, Edu Garden, Education Garden, so Edu Garden, EDU Garden Tutoring. Teach with Mike. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can reach me through those social handles. Edu Garden Tutoring on Instagram and Facebook. So you can get to me through that. And you can email me. My email is also open. teachwithmike@gmail.com.
Awesome.
My email is open. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I'm gonna leave the all those socials and email in the description below. So if you guys want to connect, um, those will be available. Michael, I want to do more podcasts with you and just learn. Maybe have multiple teachers, educators that are in Africa, in Ghana, come together, maybe different parts of the world, and share ideas, learnings, findings. So this has been a pleasure. I learned so much already in this short conversation, and hopefully we can do it sometime soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. And I must say, I really appreciate what you do. And I really look forward to keeping this relationship going.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you, my friend. I'll talk soon.
All right.